Welcome to the 15th episode of the Thoughts with Lakshman podcast. Um, in my podcast, I mainly focus on, German culture, studying German as a society, um, you know, comparing the United States to Germany in different systems. For example, the government, for elections, for educational systems, all sorts of stuff. And really, our goal on the podcast is just to understand more about how other countries operate and how other people in other countries live. Um, I started studying German as a sophomore, German, the language. And as I got deeper into my language courses, um, I started learning about German culture as part of the course. And it really, like, sparked an interest in me, and, I started reading a lot, and I just started finding out more and more information about that sort of stuff, and that prompted me to create a podcast where I just basically discuss that, information because, I have the knowledge and I have the reading. I obviously have to be a bit more organized, when I'm making a podcast, but, yeah, I thought it made a lot of sense, so and just to reiterate, my podcast is available on all platforms, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. I even upload it on YouTube. It's the Thoughts with Lakshman podcast. And yeah, let's get it into this episode, which is episode 15 of the podcast. And in this episode, we're going to be focusing on media in Germany, media and publishing. So, although German radio and television are not state controlled, only public corporations were permitted to broadcast until the mid 1980s when a dual system of public and commercial stations was established. And and still, in 1986, the Federal Constitutional Court held that the public corporations compromised the basic supply of news and entertainment and commercial outlets were only a supplementary supply. And licensing and control of public broadcasting is under the Federal Ministry of Post and Telecommunications, and support for public broadcasting is provided by fees paid by the owners of radios and television sets. Now, the public corporations enjoy great freedom in establishing their own broadcasting policies. Attempts to control these policies, which are often hostile to incumbent governments, have been repeatedly rebuffed. Thus, really, in practice, German television, more than radio, enjoys remarkable latitude and independence in what it broadcasts. Public radio and television are arranged along, national and regional lines with a number of regional corporations that offered 2 to 4 radio programming schedules combining to form one evening television offering. Um, and this one evening television offering is complemented by a second television network, which is based in Mainz. And a third channel is also organized and broadcast regionally, but with special emphasis placed on local and regional events in school instruction as well as educational, informational, and fine arts programs. And the uneven quality of entertainment, in both radio and in television, is offset by the high quality news coverage and political and social reporting, that makes the German public one of the best informed of any country. And that's very important. That's a major positive. 2 radio stations, Deutschland Radio and Deutsche Welle, they're publicly operated, to provide a comprehensive German perspective of events. Deutsche Welle is beamed to Europe and overseas. There are also several regional public radio stations that provide, localized programming. And some 200 private radio stations are also regionally and locally focused. Um, by the early 21st century, cable and satellite television had achieved really broad penetration throughout Germany, and the cable and satellite networks offer extensive programming from public and commercial television in Germany and abroad. And Germany really switched its terrestrial television broadcast system from an analog system to a digital one in 2008. And its satellite broadcast system, it's digitalization of the terrestrial signal really greatly expanded, the viewing options for the small percentage of homes that relied on an antenna to receive television broadcasts. During the years of partition, viewers in East Germany could freely receive radio and television broadcasts from West Germany and from West Berlin, with the result that the public in East Germany kept current on news from the West. The broadcasting facilities in the former East Germany, were reorganized almost alongside, the lines of the Western states. Um, but but Germans are really, voracious readers of newspapers and magazines, and freedom of the press is guaranteed under the Basic Law, and the economic state of Germany's several hundred newspapers and thousands of, magazines is really healthy. Most major cities support two or more daily newspapers in addition to in addition to, community periodicals, and few towns of any size are without their own daily newspaper. In the 21st century, most German newspapers and periodicals publish daily or weekly editions on the internet, enabling access far beyond, their traditional print circulation. And the press is free of government control. No newspaper is owned by a political party, and only about 10% of newspapers overtly support a political party, though most offer, a distinct political point of view. Laws really restrict, the total circulation of newspapers or magazines that can be controlled by one publisher or group. For example, the Bundeskartellamt oversees German industry to ensure really against a company abusing its dominant position within a particular industry. And although newspaper and periodical ownership cannot be the monopoly of any one ownership, Axel Springer Verlag controls a significant share of the market. And other major newspaper publishers, some of which, also publish magazines and other periodicals, um, like, for example, the Süddeutsche, the Bauer Media Group, the Hubert Buddha Media, and the German Press Council, which was established in 1956, sets out guidelines and investigates complaints against the press. Now, a national press exists on one level, in the form of many different, regional newspapers, which command, international circulation and respect. And another level, of the national press is represented by, the universally circulated um, tabloid, you know, which has the largest, which is called the Bild, and it has the largest readership of any paper and publishes several regional editions. Berlin also has many daily newspapers. They're of different political views. You have the the uh, the liberal, you know, der Tagesspiegel. You also have a conservative one, Byington Mugenport, and but yeah, other leading newspapers of the former, East Germany were also bought by Western publishers. And really, a major edition of German newspapers, replete with politics and arts features, is published on Saturday, and a lively Sunday press complements, the daily newspapers, providing an overview and perspective and interpretation of major new developments, as well as, political commentary, or artistic criticism, or even, sports stuff. And the most prestigious and influential of these is Die Zeit. And, Sunday counterparts of the major dailies, they're run virtually as separate newspapers, competing with other weeklies. Now, the genre The Illustriert really dominates the German magazine market. Some of these popular weekly glossies, such as Stern and Bunte, they carry features, including investigative reporting of a high caliber. And others, however, really cater to an unquenchable, public thirst for celebrities or even bizarre crime. Um, um, but yeah, really out there flashy topics. And apart from wealth of specialized journals and the quality of business oriented magazines, the role of high prestige magazines of opinion is really largely subsumed by the weighty weekend editions of the quality press. And a special niche is occupied by the weekly news magazine Der Spiegel, which is a journalistic power in its own right. Because after it really it was founded in the period immediately after um, World War II, and it has shaped public opinion in Germany. Through its editorial posture. As the skeptical, non-aligned observer and guardian almost of the public conscience, and exhaustive in its coverage and polemical in its tone. It really features thorough, critical investigations of events from both the past and the present. Um, Germany has, you know, over 2,000 publishing houses and more than 90,000 titles reach the public every year. And it's a production, surpassed only by the United States, compared to the entire world. Um, and that goes to show you, right? Because even though China has the largest population, their government doesn't really give the press that much freedom. And it also goes to show you, the power of the American democracy, the fact that the press is able to, print exactly what they want, and you can draw the same parallel to Germany. But yeah, Germany was traditionally home to small and medium-sized publishing houses. However, the Bertelsmann Group, which was a multinational, you know, group, real powerful group that was based in Gütersloh, is now, one of the world's largest publishers. And book publishing is not really centered, in a single city, but instead it's really concentrated fairly evenly in Berlin, Hamburg, Cologne, Frankfurt, Stuttgart, and Munich. Even in Leipzig also, which was, by the way, Germany's pre-war major publishing city, and it's shared with East Berlin, the major publishing houses of East Germany. I mean, you also have Gotha in Thuringia, and that's renowned for the production of maps and atlases. And by law, book prices are fixed at the publisher level, and this practice really tends to favor the smaller independent bookstores that are really prevalent um, throughout Germany. But yeah, that really brings us to the end of the podcast. I hope you enjoyed. Just to recap, we spoke about German media, some political leanings, but mainly we spoke about how the power of the German media, the fact that Germany is one of the most informed countries. The German public is one of the most informed publics in the world, which is really powerful and really important, and it's a hallmark of success. And yeah, that's the main takeaway from this. But yeah, thank you for listening to the podcast, and I hope you listen to many more in the future. Goodbye.